everyone. Welcome to New Jersey's Prematurity Prevention Initiative's Wellness Wednesdays. Today is our fourth Wellness Wednesday in a series we will be hosting for March. And if you haven't seen our first ones, go check it out at NJ Preterm. They're really great. So each Wednesday at 12 p.m., you will either see myself or my colleague Christine Ivory from PPI, and we will each week share with you information about reproductive health, preventing chronic disease, or just overall tips that you can use to have a healthier lifestyle or have better chance for positive birth outcomes. So before we get started today on today's topic of nutrition and food system education and introduce our guest Alicia from CROPS, I'll just quickly introduce myself and then pass it to Christine. My name is Casey Mile, and I'm an education coordinator with the Prematurity Prevention Initiative at the Partnership for Maternal and Child Health of Northern New Jersey.
Thank you, Casey. And hi, everyone. My name is Christine Ivory, and I'm a health educator for the Prematurity Prevention Initiative. And the Prematurity Prevention Initiative, also known as PPI, is a collaborative effort that focuses on reducing the number of babies born too soon in New Jersey. So, Alicia, could you introduce yourself?
Sure. Thank you for having us. Well, me, I always say us because CROPS is actually run by Paige Vaccaro and myself, and we function as co-presidents. So we really function as like just a person with two heads. CROPS stands for Communities Revolutionizing Open Public Spaces, and we're a small nonprofit in New Jersey. We're in South Jersey. Primarily, we function out of Atlantic County. A lot of our programs take place in Atlantic City, but we're starting to grow some different programs that will be taking place in multiple
campuses. What type of work do you all do there? Tell me a rundown of everything that CROPS does.
Sure. So CROPS mission is to facilitate growth by creating new experiences in places that promote and empower healthy and connected communities. And a lot of what we do, we really do function as like a grassroots organization. So, we have a variety of programs. Some of them are just wholeheartedly us, but a lot of them too, particularly like our partnership with PPI is kind of, we function as, a smaller sort of group that can get in there and like fill in the gaps that bigger organizations tend to have, and not because anybody's not doing what they're meant to be doing, but just because you have so many things that you're worried about, so we run community gardens. We have 3 locations in Atlantic City, and we're actually extending that program a little bit. We do have a new location on the horizon. I can't share too much yet because we don't have the full proposal finished yet, but we also run farmers markets in several locations. So we started out as just one location. And then actually last year during the pandemic, we grew to 4 locations in 2 separate counties, and all of our farmers markets are SNAP accessible. So we take supplemental nutritional assistance program dollars, and we do that through, people can use their EBT cards, and in New Jersey, they're called Families First cards now, to shop at our farmers markets on all eligible items that are being sold by the vendors and the growers and producers and farmers. We also have newly this year, a CSA program. So CSA is Community Shared Agriculture. So basically what it is, people invest in a farm, one set price for the season, and they receive produce, and actually our CSA is both produce and meat. So we're working with a meat farmer in Atlantic County, and then we're working with a produce farmer up from North Jersey, and we are bringing the CSA to Atlantic City. So usually the CSA functions as something where you go and you visit the farm, and it is very like community oriented. It's part of that movement of like, know where your food comes from. So we've partnered with these 2 farmers, and they're doing an 8-week CSA in the middle of the summer in Atlantic City. So they'll be driving there and they'll be dropping off boxes of vegetables. There's an option to do meat because of the meat farmer, and also eggs. Wow. We also have a paid internship program. So the paid internship program is kind of the thing that like brings the markets and the farms together. We recognize the fact that just because something has the word internship in it doesn't mean that somebody should be giving away their time for free. And particularly in the communities that we work in, we like to be able to offer some position that provides a little bit of like supplemental income for the people from that community. So all of our paid interns, we try really hard to pull them from the communities where we have the farmers markets and where we have the community gardens, because then it really does add to that aspect of community. You know, there's buy-in, like, and it's easier to get people from the community to come to a farmer's market where they can walk in and recognize the paid intern and like be like, you know, I know your family, we go to church together, or whatever it is. It's nice for both sides. It's nice for the intern, but it's also nice for the people coming to the market and the entire community, knowing that it is something that is being run by people that they know, and people are benefiting from it that actually live there. We also have a small business incubation program. So we work with a lot of vendors across the state, and you know, those are the people that come to our farmers markets as producers and as, you know, crafters or food vendors and things like that. And one of the things that we try to do is we work with some of those smaller businesses, and a lot of them are minority owned or woman owned or run by people who are parents, or it's some kind of like side business. And you know, but a lot of times that might just be something that they're just doing and selling whatever it is that they're making to like friends or family friends or family members, things like that, but they don't really know how to do like a business registration through the state of New Jersey, or what it means to have a general liability policy, and you need a general liability policy to participate in our farmers market. So we walk them through that, or, you know, they might not have $200 to shell out on a table and a tent and, you know, a tablecloth and the PPE that you need now to participate in farmers markets and do anything, you know, within the public community. So we work with them, you know, we give them small stipends as a scholarship to get them ready and set up as a vendor at the market, so that they can, you know, rely on that a little bit more heavily as a side income, or maybe it's their only income. You know, a lot of times, especially moms, like there's not really like any sort of childcare, like reliable childcare infrastructure in our society. So a lot of times moms do wind up, you know, giving up work to become moms, and particularly during 2020 and the pandemic. So it's helpful to those families to be able to do something like that. We also, I mentioned before we started recording, the Food Democracy Collaborative. It's called the New Jersey Food Democracy Collaborative, and it's Crops was one of the founding members of the Food Democracy Collaborative. So it's run by us. Primarily, it's run by an adjunct professor at Stockton University who works on their sustainability department. And she also owns a farm herself in Ocean County. And then there's another farm organization involved too from Atlantic County. So basically what the Food Democracy Collaborative does is, you know, we try to do a lot of research in like food policies within New Jersey, and we advocate for better policies that make food more accessible to people, and make, you know, one of our big initiatives right now is trying to get different government agencies that deal with food systems in New Jersey to work together like better. You know, there's a lot of disconnect when you go from department to department, and one of the things that we can do is make sure that they're aware of what each other are doing and ask them to work together better, so that resources that are made available through the state actually get to the people that need them and are being spent in that budget year, or, you know, that budget years, whatever it is. And just so that food is more accessible to people, because we still, even though, you know, we do a lot in this country for food benefits and things like that, we still have places like Atlantic City that are considered a food desert. And then obviously we have the seedlings program, which is like so cool. It's got a lot of attention, and I know that that's one of the questions later on, and we'll explain it, but I just wanted to mention it in our programs.
Yes, I was like, hold on, don't give it away. But oh, it's such really great community building, and just really emphasizing that, you know, we can come together and be stronger together that way, and food is a big part of that. So thank you for sharing.
Yeah,
Thank you.
just a second what Christine said, Alicia, I think all of those things are really great that you shared. I'm getting excited over here listening to you. I'm like, wow, that, I love this idea of increasing access and community and like you said, just working together across the state. That's definitely what Christine and I try to do with PPI. We collaborate in different areas all the time. So thanks so much for sharing that. And I guess to shift gears a little bit, I wanted to know, could you tell us a little bit more about why it's so important to include fresh food into what we eat, and what are the benefits for moms?
Yeah, absolutely. So I feel like, we at Crops, first of all, I just want to say I'm not a nutritionist and I'm not a doctor. But it's so many different things. So I think that we try really hard, not just to provide fresh food, but also not just to provide fresh food and resources to fresh food, but also education around it. And I think that food is something, at least like the full food system of growing it and picking it and eating it, it's something that we've really unfortunately gotten away from in this country. And also it's really hard when you have kids who don't even know that like apples come from trees. They just think that they come from grocery stores and things. So I think that the biggest thing is that Crops tries to push is just the balance. If you can just get a little bit of something that's nutritious, a little bit of something that you grew yourself or that the person who grew it, that's so helpful in so many different ways. It's not just nutrition, it's overall wellness. And like the word wellness has really been commandeered by like a big like corporate section of companies that just want to like sell you things. It's not really about like your stress level, or are you getting enough sleep, or drinking enough water, or getting food that's actually good for you. So we try to like move away from that and just make people realize that it can be so simple. It can be as simple as like cutting off a handful of spinach in your backyard and throwing it in a smoothie and hiding it from your kids so that they're definitely getting the spinach and the vitamins that provides. So I think you know getting nutrition from fresh food is obviously better than getting it from synthetic, something that comes in a bottle on a grocery store shelf. And if we can just teach people that balance, like it's so much better for you to eat a salad with spinach in it and one slice of pizza than it is to eat 3 slices of pizza and then also take a handful of vitamins afterwards. It's so much better for you to stand outside in the sunshine now that it's finally back for a half an hour than it is for you to just take vitamin D. Not that those things aren't important, but the balance of being able to do both and know where those nutritious vitamins and things come from originally anyway can be so helpful to a person, and particularly moms too. We don't ever take 5 seconds to stop. And I mean, sometimes you get through the whole day and you're like, wow, I filled up the dog's water bowl, but like I forgot to drink a whole bottle of water today or something like that. And I think just understanding that is so important. And if you can just focus on the balance of just putting in some stuff that's healthy from time to time, like that can be so preventative for a lot of these chronic diseases that we've been talking about. And it can help you avoid taking some really strong pharmaceutical things that wind up having other side effects that then you have to deal with. It saves you. I think in the long run, if we can make the point that it saves time, it will be something that's like appealing to a lot of people, especially moms. um, but also fresh food is fun. I mean, that's another thing that Crops really tries to drive home. It's fun. And think about what it's like to try a food that you may not have had any interest in trying, but you're trying it because you're growing it. You grew that radish or you grew that sprout and you're like, yeah, I'm obviously going to eat it because it's like my other baby. And I think it brings a sense of accomplishment too, which is another point that we found over last year during the pandemic. I think that we didn't realize just how much of a stress relief a lot of the work that we do can be. like our gardens in all over Atlantic City wound up being kind of like a place of peace for people when, you know, we were stuck inside for an entire year because of a pandemic. And we had people who would come and visit the gardens just to have a place to go that wasn't, you know, the four walls of their house for at least an hour or so during the day, even if they didn't leave with a vegetable, you know, it was something to do, it was something to be outside. And I think a lot of us as a whole learned how important it is to be outside this past year. And then the final point that I would make about fresh food too is it's actually really important for the environment. So I'll just a little quick anecdote. I had my daughter inside a grocery store and she asked me for one of those little like cups of cut fruit. And I was like, yeah, fine. Like, that's great. I'm glad you asked me for that instead of like M&Ms. But if you read the sticker, it said packaged in Arizona and we live in New Jersey, and that's A, like really bad for the environment, but B, like think about if you know a little bit more about your local food system, you're not necessarily, and it's in season and we take advantage of things being in season, like you're not buying something that's more expensive than it should be because it came from the other side of the country and it didn't sit in a cooler for however many days it took to get here and lose some of its nutrition. So I think it's important to remember that piece too.
Thank you, Alicia. I mean,
Yeah.
thinking about all these different ways of fresh food, and I'm going to get to that for my next question. I'm getting excited myself, Casey, because I'm thinking about fresh food at the diet, and then you mentioned going outside and just all these great things. And I appreciate you sharing that. So digging a little bit deeper, what fresh foods can be grown at home? We're seeing this trend where people are doing their own urban gardens or in-home gardens. So what can moms or families grow at home?
Sure. So some stuff some things that are really super easy, like you have stuff all the way on the super easy spectrum. We're going to talk about this in a little bit, is microgreens. You can literally grow them in like this much dirt, and just as long as you're consistently watering them, they're good to go. And you can just clip them as they grow and they'll continue to grow back. And you could put them on sandwiches. Like I said before, you can put them in smoothies. That's like my go-to thing because my daughter's 5. And also I don't a lot of times stop in the middle of the day to like make lunch. So like that's really easy. Lettuces are so easy as long as you get the timing right for the time of year. They can't be in like weather that's too hot. You know, so those are easy. Grape tomatoes are really easy. I had a million of them in my backyard last year. So like lettuces, the microgreens, those type of things, you can grow those in really small containers. I even grew a baby watermelon in a small container when we used to live in Ocean City, and we were growing off of like an outdoor deck. and so everything was in a container. So, you know, cherry tomatoes, or grape tomatoes, whatever variety, even peppers you can grow in containers too. Another thing that's really good is herbs. And that is great, even just for like a little like moment of peace, like even as parents, you know, if you have a mint plant, which grows like crazy, it will literally take over your entire yard, or if you let it, your entire container. You know, just clipping that off and like throwing it in water with a lemon slice is something different. And it's something that you can do for yourself that feels like something that you did just for you, just because it's something that you enjoy. And also it can make water, you know, tastier if you're not a big water person. A little flavor.
That's
Oh, I love that. Yeah, I love that some of these things, to me, honestly, Alicia, some of it sounds overwhelming just because a lot of us don't get this education or access, or right, like you said earlier in the conversation, you're like, oh, you know, this idea that apples come from food stores and not trees,
Yeah.
right? If we didn't grow up in either a neighborhood or have like fresh food in our houses, how new this could sound to some people listening. So that's why I'm also excited for the seedlings that, again, that we're not going to talk about right now, but to talk about that a little later.
Well, let me just say, if it sounds overwhelming, that's okay. And like, you know, I will explain at the end where you can reach crops. we still get seeds that don't sprout. I mean, we were just over this past week, Paige and I had a meeting with the Stockton Sustainability Farm. We were out there visiting the farm, talking to the farm director, and we literally had a conversation. I'm sorry. We literally had a conversation with the director of the farm and, us about some seeds that we had tried out that none of us could get to sprout. So it happens, like it really does. And also we're there, if you're like, oh, I tried this and it didn't work at all for me. And you're like, I want to change the dirt that I have, or I want to change the seeds that I have, like, we're happy to help.
And before we get to the next question too, Casey, I wanted to mention, remember in session 1, we talked about birth defects and about fresh food and adding that to your diet and how that's really helpful for moms. I know we talked about the dark leafy, I can't even talk, dark green leafy leaves.
Oh yeah, yeah, that has a bunch of nutrients and folic acid and all those good things.
And Alicia, I'm kind of like tying that point in, because thinking about the greens, even with the microgreens, if we could grow those at home in a container garden, which we'll talk about in a moment, I know that they pack a big nutritional punch as well. So really exciting things here.
Yes, most definitely. And if you're the kind of person too that like doesn't really love, a salad, there's so many small things that you can do just to make it something that you want to eat and something that you're excited about. And two, like, knowing where your food came from, like, some of the farmers particularly that we work with at the crops markets and everything, they are experts. And they're small farms, small growers. They may not be like a giant operation, but that's actually better. They care about the soil that your carrots are being grown in, and automatically that makes them more nutritious because it's not factory farming.
This is so interesting. I love it. All right. Well, with all that said, Christine, what do you think? Is it time to talk about seedlings?
I think it's time.
All right, Alicia, now no more holding back. You can tell us all about it.
Okay, great. So the seedlings program will function as a 3-part program, and hopefully, it will wind up being a little bit longer than that too. So in partnership with PPI, we came together and came up with a program where there will be 3 phases, and each phase will grow something new with the group of like moms or expectant moms. And within that, it will be the same structure. So each phase will be growing something. We'll meet on 2 Zooms per week. We'll meet on Tuesdays and Fridays. And so phase 1 will be microgreens. We'll be growing the microgreens in those clear plastic egg containers. So we collected leftover egg containers, and you just put a little bit of dirt in there, a little bit of soil. You sprinkle the microgreens on top, and then we just water them regularly and leave them in the sun, and they literally will grow in 3 days. So you have these little tiny like baby leafy greens. They're really cute. And then the moms can just cut them with scissors and they're ready to go. You don't have to do any sort of, it's really not hard at all. And it's something that grows so easily. So there will be that sense of accomplishment. And then it's something that you can use right away too. And we're not even really in growing season yet. Even this morning, it was still like 30 something degrees. So it's something that totally can take place inside. And it's fun to do with little ones too. If anybody in the program already has children, it's something that's so exciting for them. And especially like instant gratification for our little people with less patience. So then we'll be meeting on Tuesdays. Tuesdays at 12 p.m. will be like our life hacks class. So we'll be talking about things like recipes to use those in, the nutritional value of microgreens. Actually, I forgot to mention that our board of directors is very diverse, both in, we're mostly a woman. We're mostly a board made of women. And then we also have 3 Black board members. And we also have 3 farm board members, like farmers. One is a multi-generational veteran-owned farm. And one is a farm run by women, and crops, we do farming ourselves too. So we have a lot of that educational background and experience, and a lot of our board members also are small business owners. So all of their knowledge like really supports all of that. So a couple of the Tuesday life hack classes will be taught by some of our board members or people we're connected to in the community who do have like distinctions, like nutrition certificates and things like that. But it'll just be easy stuff like talking about freezing stuff that you've grown. That's a thing that I do that I didn't do a couple of years ago. If I didn't use something, I'd just be like, okay, I'm just gonna throw it out. But that's like, saving money. It's also giving you something that is nutritious for a time period where nothing is growing in New Jersey. So it'll be a lot of education on Tuesdays, and then Friday evenings we'll meet at 4 p.m. and that'll just be a social hour. I think that that's another big thing with the Seedlings program. It's not just growing your own food. It's not just adding, nutritional value to your diet and the education part. It's also building a community of moms because, we have to rely on each other for things that, particularly this past year, we're not getting any social contact whatsoever. Our entire lives basically are happening online or inside of our houses. And, moms need an outlet, parents need an outlet, kids need an outlet, a lot of like things that I learned when I first had my daughter came from other moms, basically. So we're hoping that this will function as something that, because it's taking place over the course of a few months, these moms will start to get to know each other just by fact of, just by being in the program together, and they can stay connected for a long period of time. And just because they have kids in similar age groups and, so we're hoping to function as that too. So phase 2, we'll be doing bigger container gardens. So that's something that we actually Crops did last year. At the beginning of the pandemic, we gave out over 100 container gardens to different communities that we work in. And they were already planted and ready to go with lettuces and things like that. And then the founder of Crops and also co-president, Paige Vaccaro, was doing Zoom meetings over, the course of the beginning of the spring and everything. And so she was teaching the families who were signing on and who had collected the container gardens about this, the nutrition and does my plant look okay? Like, is it going to make it? Things like that. So the second phase of the program, we'll still be doing the Tuesday afternoon and the Friday evening Zooms, and they'll be the same, they'll be like the life hacks and the social hour, but we'll be doing something different. We'll be doing larger container gardens. They can be inside and outside, they can be started indoors. And then once it starts to warm up a little bit more in April and May, they can be moved outside. And we'll be doing mostly lettuce varieties, spinach, things like that. And then phase 3 of the program, we're actually hoping, by then that we'll be able to, it'll be the beginning of the summer. And we're hoping that we may be able to move the meetings offline a little bit. And I know that we're going to have some moms from all over the state. So we'll still continue to offer the option of the online, like the Zoom, live stream sort of the meetings, but we're hoping any local families will be able to actually meet in the garden and do sort of like a mommy and me garden meet every week, and maybe some workshops and things like that. And they'll be able to take, they can do starters, like seed starters right along with us. And if they want to try to grow some peppers at home, or they prefer to come visit the garden and just get their peppers from there, they'll still be able to watch that progression of growing and harvesting.
Alicia, we love the program. We're so glad to partner, or PPI is so glad to partner with you for this initiative. If you are a mom in New Jersey, in any county, all across the state, it is open to you, to those who are expecting or to those who are new moms. It's really open to all moms all across the board. And if you are looking to register, the program does start this month. It does start in March. But if you happen to miss the March deadline, we will have, just like Alicia mentioned, phase 2, which will start in April. So you can tag on with that. We're also going to add on some yoga too. So stay tuned about that as well. Alicia, Seedlings, hands down, it sounds like a great program. I can't wait.
Yes, we're so excited too. We're really, really excited to be able to to reach the networks of organizations and moms that you guys already are working with, and also to be able to make that connection to the communities that we're already working with. And we just think it's so great, and it's had so much attention online for us and everything, because it's just perfect. It couldn't have come at a better time, I don't think, after the year that we've all had.
Yes, sign up, sign up. I know I've mentioned it just briefly already, and there was interest, like, oh, send me the link. So I hope any moms listening really do truly, we're not just trying to plug a program for you, but this really has value. And I know, it's pretty unique too. I mean, to learn about microgreens and have that just in your home. You don't have to go anywhere. So I love the thought behind it and the intentions and all of that.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, us too. We can't wait. We can't wait to meet everyone.
And also for those moms that are interested in registering, you can look for the registration link, but I won't say it out loud. It's pretty long, but you can look for that link in 2 different places. If you go to NJ Preterm on any of our social media website or our site, or excuse me, or our platforms, you can see it there. And then Alicia, on the Crops social media on Instagram, Facebook, you can check out the link there and register, and you'll be good to go. We'll send you your items, or we could drop them off social distancing. So we have those options for you.
Yes, most definitely. We can definitely do porch jobs for sure.
Right.
Yeah. So do you want me to just real quick say the crop social media accounts?
Yeah. We'll probably cut some of this right here out, but I want to thank you first we want to thank you first for joining us and everything. So then
Yeah, absolutely. Of course. Thank you for having me. I'm so excited. I'm really glad to be able to talk about this in a little bit more in depth than 2 minutes here and there on the phone with people. It's great.
Yes. So thank you once again, Alicia, our co-president of Crops, and we're so happy to have you here today. We'd like to share some of the resources of how those, if they're interested in maybe volunteering or interning or just all the above, how they can reach you.
Sure, absolutely. So we have the Facebook page is Crops. It's just all capitalized. It's CROPS. And then the Instagram is at Crops NJ. All lowercase. And then also, if you want to include my email address in the recording or in the post, it's a Newcomb, NEWCOMB at cropsnj.org.
Okay. That sounds wonderful. So once again, we thank you all so much for tuning in for another Wednesday. We will be back for another Wednesday or Wellness Wednesday next week, and we look forward to seeing you there. Thank you again, Alicia, and everyone.